Hello everybody, welcome back. It's another Friday with Dannphan, and we are back in the dungeon. I know you missed this dungeon. That's why I had to bring it back. I had to bring back the dungeon just for you, just for all of you who were requesting, Dannphan, why don't you stream in the dungeon again? I love that super cold, prison-like lighting that you have in the dungeon. Well, this is for you. This is for all you who love this section of streaming. The Fridays with Dannphan, they must go on. It's a requirement. Yeah, the spooky background, exactly. As spooky as could possibly be. This would be perfect for Halloween. Halloween comes early, I guess. Certainly a good day in the world for gaming. New Resident Evil game, and Pokemon turns 30 years old. Are they doing anything special for Pokemon? I guess they should be. It's like a very new thing that I guess companies do more often now. It's that they hold some sort of special event or release for the birthday of a particular IP or a particular company. But yeah, that sounds pretty exciting. All exciting things. A very spooky February, to be fair. Was it spooky? I guess it was cold. It's been a cold winter in general. Lots of snow. But you know. Next month will be Resident Evil turn to become 30. Everybody's turning 30. Every IP is turning 30, it seems. Well, that's nice. It's good to hear that there are some good news coming out recently, I suppose. And Reaper Book 2 is almost done still. This weekend I'm gonna get in contact with the printer that I wanted to use. It's gonna be a different printer than from book 1. So hopefully it'll be better printing quality and not worse. I think it will be better printing quality though. I think it will be more so what I envisioned with how the book should feel and look. The first one, it wasn't terrible or anything, you know, but it's just not really what I had in mind. One of those. They had they have Pokemon presets. They had a Pokemon Presents broadcast this morning. Sorry, it's just the screen is far from me. Oh, Smiling Friends is ending. I guess that is true. I remember hearing that from somewhere else. Weird. I thought it was a pretty popular show. I'd think that they would just want to keep it going forever. There's so many adult shows that are kind of shit that just go on forever, so I don't know why they would cancel a popular one. But what do I know? It's the world of animation. There's a lot of strange choices that get made, especially with Netflix. Oh man. A cool shirt. It's okay shirt. Tomorrow's supposed to touch 50 degrees. Looking forward to getting some fresh air. Yeah, that does sound nice, actually. It's been, yeah. We are heading towards the end of winter, so gotta get sunshine and warmth again. Be nice. I think the showrunners wanted to cancel it rather than make zombie seasons because they ran out of ideas. Yeah, maybe. I think that's the most respectable way to end a series if you just don't have the inspiration for it and you don't want to, I guess, prolong it even with bad ideas, or get new people who don't really understand the content to start writing it. You know, that'll lead to some bad things later on down the line, so it's better to end it on your own terms. And the creators chose to end it. Wanted to go out on a high note, and also they were burned out. Yeah, I can imagine, like, running a animated series, it takes a lot of energy out of you. It's a shame, though. There should be, like, just good content. I mean, it's a shame that the only content that stays running for a long time is just soulless, you know? And all of the things that are so full of, like, soul and are actually good, they just kind of fizzle out very quickly. Seems kind of bad. Watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? I have. I've watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What, do you think I'm uncultured? Yeah, probably better to end it sooner. Left it open to possibly come back in the future. Okay, well that's different, right? Because if you leave it open-ended and you think, oh, well, when we have the inspiration again, or when we have the energy to do it again, we'll come back. That's better. You know, more like a hiatus than a complete goodbye, I guess. Maybe, you know, maybe you won't come back. Who knows? Who knows? Something that I saw recently that I thought was pretty interesting, that we could talk a little bit about here on the stream, since I have you. Let me just plug in my charger, because I'm dumb and didn't do that already. It's the conversation about whether or not being on social media makes you a worse writer. And that's like kind of an interesting conversation in of itself, because we do know a lot of people, a lot of writers who are terminally online who are terrible writers, but one has to wonder, like, is there a direct connection with that, or is it just coincidental, or which one caused the other, if either caused the other? Part of the reason why it got me thinking is because there was this one article on Bounding into Comics talking about how a Shonen Jump editorial was saying that social media has changed a lot of attitudes that mangaka have, because they're more so about, I guess, validation than anything else, you know? They want to, I guess, impress Twitter users or Instagram users or whoever they're trying to impress. But there could be something to that, for sure. Let me bring up the actual quotes. We can talk about it a little bit. Okay. I'll share my screen once I click the correct button for sharing your screen. Oh, look at this. The editor explained, with the recent proliferation of social media, we increasingly see instances where creators seem driven by a desire to be perceived as amazing by readers, a desire fundamentally divorced from the core purpose of entertaining them. This can manifest as an obsession with defying expectations while excessively downplaying the importance of not disappointing expectations. So that's something that we've talked about a lot in the West, is subversion instead of, you know, instead of actually exceeding expectations. A lot of people want to subvert expectations to, like, impress people. Like, oh, you didn't expect that, did you? But it seems like they're kind of saying the same here too. And I've sort of seen that. Not gonna lie, I have sort of seen that with a lot of new manga coming out. A lot of them feel like they're try hard edgy sometimes, or that they're always trying to do some sort of twist, even if it makes no sense for there to be a twist. And I'm not anti-twist, you know? I think stories can be really interesting when you take a well-known concept and add a twist to it. But there's a reason why the term try hard tends to be a bit derogatory. It's because sometimes you try too hard without the inspiration, without the motivation to actually, without the vision, really. You need vision, for lack of a better term. But we'll see what else they had to say here, because there is more. Let's see. A healthy dose of self-satisfaction is necessary. Creating work solely with the intent to entertain readers risks producing something utterly bland, devoid of the author's unique taste or flavor, which could easily get lost in today's saturated manga market. However, when that self-satisfaction runs wild and the I'll show them mentality becomes too strong, resulting in developments that please no reader. While it might be something they've never seen before and shocks readers in a negative way, it's disappointing endpoint that fails to face the reader. So, basically saying they're trying so hard to stand out and be over the top because, obviously the manga market is incredibly competitive. There's so many people who want to be the next big mangaka, and there's so many titles constantly being published and canceled all the time. And so I get it. I understand the worry of, oh no, what if I don't stand out? I gotta do something that makes my work incredibly unique. I gotta do something that no one's ever done before, right? But then sometimes you create something that's so foreign, that's so over the top, like, maybe this hasn't been done before because it sucks. For lack of better words of explaining, sometimes the reason why something's never been done before is because nobody's interested in that thing that you're trying to do. You need to be able to take a step back and also understand, well, what do the readers want, Is there any more? There's a little bit more. The ultimate ideal is to surpass the reader's predictions, exceed their expectations. However, for commercial works, the impression is often, if you're going to disappoint expectations, it's better not to even surprise them. This is purely my personal view, so I'm sure there are other analyses that differ from this. But no, I do kind of agree with this guy, man. I think this is the article, by the way, if you wanted to go check it out. I do kind of agree with this sentiment, though. I feel that in a lot of the new manga that is coming out. It feels like people are trying to be a little bit off-color and a little bit edgy. And sometimes the stories that they're actually telling are kind of disappointing, in this effort to try to do something that nobody's ever done before, quote unquote, in this effort to be as edgy and unpredictable as possible, you actually wind up pushing more readers away, which is kinda unfortunate. I do hope that that's not going to be a trend that spirals out of control for Japan. Obviously, there are extremely talented people still putting out really good work there. But I do see a lot of people that just are putting out really uninspired stuff that are just sometimes a bit spiteful, you know? Maybe. But yeah, we need to protect Japan. Of course, of course. The problem is that you can't subvert anything when everyone else is doing the same thing, yeah. Well, there's only so much you can subvert something, you know? It's like the whole Freerun thing. But it's because everyone expects the demons to secretly be misunderstood that it's a subversion for it to actually be the original. They are subverting a subversion because the new standard has changed, and it kind of just ping-pongs back and forth. But in essence, Freerun is technically more of a return to form, because it recognizes, okay, well, demons, by definition, are evil and trying to do evil things, so we should treat them like evil monsters. And you know, even the whole demons will try to manipulate you type thing, yeah, that's all a return to what they were originally saying about demons. Don't know about social media and being obsessed with one's image, but I think there's something that flips when you're inside too much. That's interesting, for sure. More people need to touch grass, in other words. Yeah. Well, I do wonder, because artists, writers, they need to be on social media nowadays, whereas previously they didn't really need to, you know, that wasn't really an expectation. But now it's an expectation that you're going to go on social media, you're going to promote your own work, you're going to post your art and post your manga pages, and you're going to build a following of people who want to support you and your work. And that spirals into more sales. But being constantly exposed to fans that follow you on social media, or other kinds of presence on social media, so like critics, you know, you will be exposed to more voices who are going to push you to make your work a certain way. Whereas previously, you would just have your own original vision, and maybe like voices of friends or family or editors who think, oh, well, I like your story, but this, and that, right? But now it's just like a bunch of strangers online who are now giving you input into what they're expecting from you. And that can kind of alter how you choose to go about your story, or how you choose to go about any kind of comic in the future. So, you know, I don't know. But the whole, like, being obsessed with your image and how people see you, and trying to get those likes online, right? Trying to get those validated reactions, or those shocked reactions. I do kind of see that in indie comics also. It's part of the reason why I think a lot of indie comics people really lean into drama to sell their stuff, because they're looking for clicks, and they're looking for those likes, those interactions. And, you know, that is social media, and that is affecting the work, or at the very least affecting how you go about selling your work. Yeah, when subversions are all the same damn thing. Very true, very true. It's not subversive anymore. Still have to make the story good. Subversions don't automatically make things good. Absolutely. 100%. I feel like the best way I'd stand out as a writer is just by giving people an honest-to-goodness hero story that doesn't try to subvert expectations. I mean, like I said, nowadays it's like that would be the subversion, because people would be expecting there to be a subversion. But if you just do a return to form story, that'll shock people more, it seems. But yeah. The same reason people have an incentive to post the most inflammatory takes they possibly can just to get eyeballs on their accounts. People do that. People definitely do that. It's a shame, but it's a real strategy now. It's not my favorite strategy, but I will not deny that it does have... It does make waves, right? It's not a completely inauthentic way to get eyes on you. The way I see it personally is I would rather just be known for something else other than drama online, you know? I would rather be noticed and recognized for my comics that I made. Because even if you do get a lot of, I guess, subscribers or followers or likes on a post where you're starting drama or just saying something off color just to get a lot of attention, you need to understand that you're going to be known for that thing. Like, when people remember you, they're going to remember you for that post or for that drama. And that's definitely different than being remembered for your comic, the thing that you actually care about. A lot of people might not even realize that you do comics, right? They might not know anything else about you except for that post, despite the fact that they're following you. I've certainly noticed that with a couple different people, like George Alexopoulos. I had him on the channel. He does like a bunch of political cartoon comics on social media, and a lot of people know him for those, specifically for those posts. But the funny part is people forget that he has, like, made other comics, made more serious comics, such as Mary Sue, right? And that's the thing that he cares about more. It's not that he wouldn't, I don't think that he regrets doing the political comics or anything, but I think it is effective for gaining a following, but then you also have to take into consideration what the outcome of that is, because people are just going to remember you for something completely different. He is going through with actually making more of Mary Sue, by the way. So that should be really interesting. I'd like to see where that story is actually going. It's been forever since I read the last one. Did I review the last one on the channel? I don't think I did. Maybe I did? I don't know. I remember I definitely reviewed the first Mary Sue's, or the first arc, but I don't think I did the other one. It's hard to remember. I gotta get into doing more indie reviews here on the channel. I've got a couple. Got a couple that are stacked up over there in my theoretical corner that I'm gesturing to. But I really want to finish this comic first. I've been working practically every minute just at the desk, just going at it with editing certain panels and redrawing other panels. Oh man. We're so close to done though, and I know I keep saying that. It's not lost on me that I keep saying that, but it's just that final stretch, and I am still waiting to get feedback from some people also. And I don't really know if I'll get it in time before I'm actually ready to have everything sent to the printer. Hopefully, right? I did get some feedback back. I got enough, I guess. But it's always better to be extra, extra sure. There's no typos and everything comes across clear and there's no story mistakes. But yeah, it's a pain. If only those people would focus on showing good alternative comics or whatever product instead of drama. Yeah, you know, it's really difficult. People online are not... They act a little bit differently. Like, we all act a little bit differently when we're online as opposed to real life interactions. And something generally that I notice is people want to engage more with positive content in real life, while as people want to engage more with negative content online. And that seems to be, you know, generally speaking, a pattern that I notice very often. Maybe it's partially because when you are online, you don't have to face like any physical consequences from interacting with negative content. Or maybe there's like a layer of stress that's peeled away from interacting with that content because it's just online. Whereas in real life, just the fact that it's more real and it's more instant, then makes you want to go towards more positive interaction. I don't really know. I don't know the ins and outs of psychology, but people do really react and share a lot of negative content online. And so I think a lot of people fall for this temptation to put out that type of content because they see people interact with it so much. And it's very, very difficult to get someone to give something new a chance. I mean, just look at all these big companies. They bust out so much money just for marketing alone because it's really difficult to get people to buy things or even look at things. There's like a bunch of comics that I bought or have bookmarked on this browser that I have yet to actually sit down and read. Granted, I've been busy. I have an excuse, but but there's a lot of people out there who also have this issue of just having all these different series that they want to get to and they want to read eventually. But, you know, you put it off, or you don't have that urgency to immediately read it, immediately look into it, immediately support it, for whatever reason. And because of that, it is really difficult for independent artists to get noticed or get that traction that they really need for success, because people are maybe a little bit more timid to give something new a chance. There could be like a lot of different reasons for why people are so timid. I think when it comes to indie content especially, it's because there's so many amateurs who have no idea what they're doing, just doing it. And I get that. Trust me, I get that. I do. I understand. But so it's kind of a hit or miss a lot of the time, whether or not you're gonna get something that you'll actually enjoy, or if it's just gonna be just as painful as whatever modern sludge you were running away from to begin with. And I have been disappointed by quite a couple indie books that I've supported. I'll still support indie books above anything else, though. Indie manga, indie comics, even indie novels, even the self-published people out there. I still will buy something if I'm interested in it, even more so if it's independently created. But Yes, there is a very real issue of a lot of them being bad. And sometimes just people aren't really interested in investing a lot of time in something that they're just going to be disappointed in. So it's almost like you need the fan base first to validate the thing that you're trying to sell people on. Like, you need people to serve as your hype man, to recommend your stuff so that people are more convinced that it's totally safe, this is actually good, trust me, bro. You need those people on your side to actually sell your stuff, because otherwise a lot of people just don't want to give it the chance. They just been burned too many times. They're like, it's gonna be crap. They're all crap. All indie comics are crap, etc., etc. And that's generally my experience, but even so, I'll still support the indie content. For sure. Even if someone doesn't get it right the first time, but I think, they come out with a new story and I'm like, oh, well, maybe this one will be better. I like the concept better. Maybe they've learned from the critiques of the first book. I'll still support it. It's fine, right? I'm not just going to completely blacklist somebody for releasing their very first comic ever written ever and then doing a bad job. I expect that, even. I completely expect it, because everyone's first thing is gonna be bad. Just how it is. Everyone's first thing, you gotta expect it to be bad. Nobody gets it right immediately. It's this give and take. You need fans, not shills. Yes. Well, I mean people who are authentic. Authentically enjoy your stuff. It's almost like you need them first to push out your stuff, to help you get those sales, because there's just so many people that will just not give it the chance at all. And obviously social media helps, because you can keep on posting about something and hopefully gain somebody's interest over time just by them becoming more familiar with the characters or with the pages you're posting, right? But honestly, a lot of social media, it's just about clicking like and then scrolling to the next thing. Not a lot of people are really interacting with the posts that they're interacting with, Like, you see good art piece, hit like, next, hit like, next, but you're not really going to the person's profile or looking at, what did they write, what's their latest comic that they came out with, what's the latest print of theirs I can buy. That doesn't really happen very often. And that's why social media and advertising conversion rates, they're so bad, they're so low. It helps if you've at least established a little bit more of a personal, social connection with your fans. If you do streams like this directly talking to people and, Q&As. Do people still do Q&As on YouTube? It almost seems like it's not important anymore to do Q&As, because everyone can just stream and directly talk to the fans like this. But there used to be a time period where you would post a videos like, I'm opening a Q&A, and then the next video you would answer all the questions that was left in the comment section. It almost seems a little outdated now, though, because you could just leave your questions in the live chat and have them answered immediately. Yeah, some do. I guess it's still a thing then. The hardest part is starting. Then the hardest part is working on it. And then the hardest part is finishing. Oh no. it's all hard. All the way through, it's just hard. The sad thing about social media is sometimes it's like posting it into the void. It gets attention for maybe a day or two and then forgotten. Yeah, well, that's why consistency is another important thing that they recommend. It's the same thing for if you have like a mailing list. You treat social media kind of similar to a mailing list, I guess, where you're just like constantly posting the updates and letting people know what's happening and showing art and trying to get people hyped up for whatever you're trying to sell. I honestly hardly use my mailing list, which is probably bad, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I do kind of sell based on my own preference of how I would like to be sold to, which I think is maybe not smart because I'm a little unique. Which is to say, maybe I'm not the best example of the archetype of person to try to sell to. I'm very picky. I'm very standoffish. I don't like being approached. I don't like it when you try to sell me things. So, maybe I need to try my best to re-strategize in how I sell things so that I'm not trying to sell to myself and rather instead sell to the common person. And the common person will probably need you to constantly be pestering them about the thing that you're trying to sell or the art that you're doing or the comic that you're doing, because a lot of people are going to forget about it. And that's just the reality, right? Even I've backed, like, comic campaigns that I just immediately forget about. I just think, oh yeah, they'll figure it out. And then, like, years go by, and then I start thinking to myself, like, did I back that campaign? I haven't gotten the comic yet. And it just occurs to me, like, years later, like, I never got that comic. Did I even back it? But, it would be helpful if you were posting updates, or you were posting art, or you were posting something to remind me about the comic that I never got. Oh, man. What do you look like without glasses? I look like I have very big eyes. That's what I look like. It's not that much of a difference. It's just bigger eyes. Because the glass kind of, like, subverts the, like, how big the eyes are. Trish is immune to advertising propaganda. I mean, maybe. I have grown accustomed to just, like, blocking it out over time because there's so much of it. If you want to talk about oversaturation, the advertising market is the most oversaturated thing anywhere. There's so many ads everywhere you look. Everyone's trying to sell you something radically different from the next thing. And it's all bullshit that you don't want. There's just, like, so much competition over your attention. And let's be honest, after a while, you're just not going to pay any attention to any of it. Once you have mentally recognized that it's an ad, you'll just close it, skip ad, scroll to next thing. You just get into that, that rhythm of approaching advertising that way. Because there's so much of it all the time, and you're so rarely interested in the things being sold, and not to mention all the scams. Oh my god, there's, like, no filter when it comes to scam advertising, especially online. At least with certain publications, they will vet the people submitting ads. Not Google. Definitely not Google. And I would argue X, not X either, or Instagram, or Facebook. Well, Facebook and Instagram are kind of like linked, but you get my point. There's so many scam ads, and like, how are you ever supposed to trust or pay attention to any ads again if you don't want to get scammed? It's really frustrating. But yeah, I have a few campaigns that will never get fulfilled. It has made me back less comics and look more into the creator. That's important for sure. You want to, yeah. It's obviously like more difficult for a creator who is just doing their first campaign because they don't have a reputation yet. But ideally, if you're going to back somebody, you want someone with a good reputation of fulfilling their campaigns, or at least posting updates, right? At the very, very bare minimum, someone who is good and sociable online and updates everybody on the status. But yeah, there's a lot of campaigns that are a bit shady in that regard. I will most likely back creators who have consistently fulfilled campaigns. Never back a first-time creator, rarely. Yeah, so many ads, it's insufferable. It's way too much. Instagram does have some great ads that are targeted to me. I keep getting cool comic tutorial ads. Interesting. I've heard very different things about Instagram ads. Very completely different things. I've heard like one person saying that they are the best thing ever and that 100% Instagram ads are the way to go and that you'll get like such a good conversion. And then I've heard the exact opposite, which is you will get 0 sales and pay a shitload of money, and that's Instagram ads. But maybe it's just dependent on what you're selling that does better on Instagram. I'm not sure. The way I kind of understand the Instagram social media environment is that it's mostly feel-good stuff that you find on Instagram. Feel-good stuff, funny stuff, pretty art, cute puppies, foodsies, that type of stuff is like the Instagram environment, I guess. Nazis. There's an occasional Nazi, but mostly it's like feel-good stuff, stuff that people kind of generally want to see. So maybe if you're selling something that's kind of in that ballpark, it's like easier to get those sales. I don't know. I heard it from an artist that they thought Instagram ads were terrible. So I don't know, man. It depends on like how well the Instagram algorithm works that day, I suppose. It's very, very inconsistent whenever you're buying ads, I guess, online. One good thing about being African was not being a target for most ads. Unfortunately, enough local firms are into it now that I feel a bit of the pain y'all have been going through. It's very aggressive. Very aggressive advertising for sure. Got a simple pitch you may use. Buy books at Burning Star Comics. You get some neat indie comics by various creators, and you'll get your money's worth. And plus, none of them are I Am Not Starfire. Absolutely. Always a solid way of selling your comics. I mean, I guess that is what I kind of utilize the read-throughs for when I do the live reactions of the comics here on the channel. Is I do the funny, haha, this is what I think about this comic. Also, here's a good alternative. Here's an indie comic by a passionate creator that I'm endorsing, that I think is good. I kind of pivot from there. But a lot of people don't even watch to the end. So maybe I should just pivot all the way at the beginning and then do it again at the end. I don't know. I gotta figure this out. You and I, we gotta figure this out together. How are we gonna make Burning Star Comics blow up? How are we gonna do it, guys? There's this one anime. I don't remember what it was called, but one of the strategies of one of the characters was to basically just focus group ideas to figure out how to win or how to like solve problems and stuff like that. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you know, focus grouping is not a bad idea. You will get a bunch of really different perspectives from focus grouping literally everything all the time, but maybe that's what we need. We need a Burning Star focus group where we all decide how we want to be advertised Burning Star comics. That's the key. That's the ticket. We're gonna figure this out, guys. I've mostly heard Instagram ads are pretty useless for comics. That's unfortunate. You know, I would think more older women would be interested in comics if they were comics written for them. You know what I mean? Like, in Japan, and I know, different culture, whatever, but in Japan, they do have a genre of manga, specifically, that is geared towards, like, the middle-aged woman. And they sell pretty good, considering, anyways. Not as good as the teen shoujo, but they sell pretty decent. And I could totally, in my head, imagine a lot of middle-aged women in America reading webtoons. And it's not really that much of a step to be like, okay, well, what about not on webtoons, but a printed comic that's kind of geared towards you? I don't know. Maybe the idea is that they just read webtoons because it's easy. Maybe they don't want to own any of the comics that they read. Maybe they know that it's trashy. Maybe they know it's bad and they don't want their friends to know that they read it. Maybe. We might be onto something, guys. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of middle-aged women also on Instagram, so that's why I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, how do we reach the middle-aged women market? How do we do that? Honestly, I am kind of more interested in the younger women market, the young girls, I guess, onto teens and early 20s, that kind of market. I don't really know how you approach that side of things either, though. Because they seem to, I mean, they're on Webtoon, right? But then after that, they're like all over the place. And some of them are really weird. I guess they're on Tumblr, because Tumblr still exists. Not for long, though. Tumblr will have its day of reckoning. This is true. Maybe have a pivot a few minutes in once you pick the viewer. I guess so. But I would need to get it like really early in there before people click off. I would need to do it super fast, like a ninja. It's like, by the way, buy my comics. All right, back to the video. What are you gonna do? DC and Marvel used to produce romance back in the day. Why not bring those back? Well, another thing to keep in mind is that romance doesn't really sell that well. Not that it doesn't sell at all. It does sell. But in comparison to action comics or adventure comics, they're like all the way down here. And that's just kind of how it's always been, even in Japan. Like, people will mention, oh my god, like, you know, there's a bunch of shoujo series that are some of the best-selling manga of all time, but if you actually look at the numbers, like, it's nothing. The majority of stuff that's selling, it doesn't even compare. The romance manga is, like, all the way down here, and then, like, One Piece is all the way up here, you know, like, it's... I know, I'm using One Piece, and that's obviously a very big, dramatic difference, but consistently, it's just people will pivot towards more action and adventure-based stories, and that's fine. I think what a lot of people who enjoy writing romance have done in order to, like, pivot from that is to just write the adventure story, just write the action story, but then include a romance subplot to hook in the audience that likes romance. I like romance, I do, and I will read straight romance stories all the time that just have, like, nothing else going on. It's just focused on the romance, and I think some of them can be really, really good. Some of them fall into these pitfalls of just focusing on drama or useless bullshit that nobody cares about. And then those are really bad, right? or the ones that just decide to subvert your expectations all of a sudden. Like, ho, the main character cheated. Ha, gotcha. And it's like, what? It's a romance. What's wrong with you? You don't do that. Maybe the reason why it's such a rare thing to do in your romance story is because it's bad, you know? Wow, congratulations, you shocked the viewer and they hated it. Anyway. But you know. It is a shame. I really like romance. I'd like to see the genre pick up. But there's also a lot of titles that completely soil the genre. And you know the exact titles that I'm talking about. You know, there are devious writers out there, wicked writers out there, that just use that romance genre tag and write the most horrible, rancid garbage. And then people then think of romance, they think of that horrible, rancid garbage, and they think, oh yeah, that's what all romances are like. How dare you? How dare you ruin the romance genre for me? It wasn't always like this. There is very wholesome romances out there. Do not believe the webtoon romance tag. They are not real romances. They are fake. They are phonies, I declare. But yeah, it's tough. Just stick to a simple and yet charming way of getting comics out there. I'll do my best. I'll do my darndest, Gabe. I appreciate everyone's support here also. I want to, like, definitely try more different methods of, like, advertising stuff. See what we can do to, like, reach new people and actually grow, like, this fan base. Like what you and I have right here on this stream, I would like to grow this very, like, personal connection to the fans and talking directly to you guys. Like, I want this group to grow, and hopefully, you know, we will put out more content that you guys are interested in reading in the first place, and so you won't have to worry about reading something you're not interested in, because that's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get that interest and grow that fan base, because I think it could be really great. It could be great, yeah. Reaper drawing stream was fire. Helga, good waifu. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll have to do more drawing streams in the future then. technically it's not gone. It's just that shit writers like to add it in superhero stories and it's often not executed well. Yeah, well, I'm not for, obviously, badly executed romance or anything. Obviously, you have to do a good job as a writer, no matter what. No matter what. You always have to do a good job as a writer. Shoujo isn't purely romantic fluff, though. It depends. Yeah, it depends. Generally, shoujo is a genre that's just geared towards young ladies. You know, the young girls. And they do typically tend to have, like, also have romance in there. And maybe more often than the shonen, they more often have stuff that's focused around the romance more. That's all I mean. But because romance is typically more popular amongst women in general. Not that guys don't like romance, but definitely how someone approaches a romance, depending on whether it's directed towards girls or directed towards guys, completely different. Completely different. So, for example, when a romance is directed towards a male reader, it's typically told through the boy's perspective, and then when a romance is directed towards a girl reader, it's typically told through the girl character's perspective. And whoever's perspective it is, they are typically like the shy, like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, I'm around this person that I like. Because they're trying to relate the main character and the reader. So, you know, how they choose to tell the romance is different depending on who they are directing the story itself towards. Which can be kind of tricky when you want to hit both audiences at the same time. You're like, how do I go about this romance? I want both guy and girl readers. But, you know, essentially you kind of have to figure that out as you go. But yeah, let's see. TikTok book writers. I would not trust anything that I see on TikTok. I'm not buying any ads from TikTok. It's a dead space. Completely dead. There's so many YouTube videos like breaking apart these book talks that go viral. And yeah, more often than not, it seems like it's just people with a lot of money spending that money on like paying influencers on TikTok to push their book, even though it's a terrible book. That usually tends to be like where the rabbit hole leads once you go down far enough. So you just can't trust anyone's recommendation on TikTok. Everyone's bought and paid for there. You're just trying to get your attention really quick, then moving on to the next thing. I'm not rewriting Morning Glory Milking Farm. That's not happening. Not on this channel. Absolutely not. Let's see. Just joined the chat. What narration today? I don't even know. We talked about a bunch of stuff, I guess. Most of the time, I guess I talked about, you know, comics and manga and my different opinions about genres and oh yeah, everyone's hopping in right when I say the milking farm line. You missed everything beforehand. It's so devious. I'm just glad that YouTube chat is actually working now. The last drawing stream that I did, for some reason, for a lot of people, apparently, the chat was not showing any of their messages. And then it would only show up if they started speaking in a different language, like one that wasn't English. So everyone just started putting L in the middle of every other word to make it think that they were speaking Spanish. Very goofy, but it worked. It was a working solution. So I don't know what was going on with YouTube. But we had fun, I guess. Alright, guys. We are kind of down to like the last couple minutes. We had a good stream though. We talked about a bunch of stuff. Now I just have to, I guess, focus the rest of my weekend on getting Reaper Book 2 to the printers. Oh, you know something else? I was going to do another Q&A for Reaper Book 2. Basically, like, ask questions about the comic or the characters and, you know, this... it kind of like the SBS that is at the end of One Piece. Only there's going to be a lot less questions to answer, of course. But if you guys want to submit any questions, it can just be a goofy question about, like, the characters if you wanted to do that. And then I can, like, answer that in the book when I actually get it printed. I'm not really sure what I want to do with how I put the Q&A in the book, because part of me was thinking, oh, it would be neat to have like one question and answer in between each chapter. Like, okay, this chapter's done, and then you turn the page and it's like a question and an answer, and you learn a little bit about the world, and you're like, oh, that's neat, and then you go to the next chapter. But part of me wonders, like, is it better to just let you, the reader, uninterrupted, read through all the chapters and then get your Q&A like all the way at the end of the book? Like, have it be separated from the flow of pages so that it doesn't get in the way. I don't know. Do you watching, do you have thoughts on this? Do you have opinions? Do you think? Are you NPCs in my chat right now, or do you think? Can you tell me things? Tell me. Tell me what I should do. Oh, man. Now I'm the NPC, asking somebody else to think for me. This is the focus group. That's what I was talking about before. We got our Burning Star focus group together. And that's what I have you here for, is to make these decisions for me. Do you do character turnarounds for your comic? Not specifically turnarounds, not all the time at least. I do make, like, general concept art for important characters. Like a model sheet, I suppose you would call it. So I can know what the character's supposed to look like and keep the design a little consistent throughout the comic. But yeah, do a visual novel. Maybe in the future I'll start doing visual novels. Maybe that's the key. That's the key to my success. I gotta get into the video game world. That's what's gonna make Burning Star boom, for sure. Let's see, leave the questions to the end. Takes the flow away to have those questions in between. Okay, we have a direct answer. Don't do too much exposition. I appreciate mystery. Interesting. At the end. Okay. Well, we have some votes for at the end. I wouldn't read them until the end anyways. Fair enough, fair enough. Some people are a little bit different where they like take a break every time they read a chapter and they put it down. So for those readers it'd be fine, right? Or for example, the way manga is traditionally published, they're publishing it one chapter at a time. So if you only have one chapter to read and you have it at the end of that chapter, it makes sense. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe because I'm releasing it as a complete book, it should just be thrown out of the way. It should be at the end rather than in between. Maybe that is the way I should go about it. You're on to something, chat. I'm glad that I focus grouped with you. You have the smarts. Anyway, guys, this is technically the end of the Friday stream, but really appreciate you being here, chatting with me. We chatted about all kinds of cool stuff. I'll let you know what's going on with Reaper Book 2 as I get more information, talk to the printer, finalize the pages. I still have to do the TOC, table of contents. It's always like kind of tedious to do, but I definitely have that done come next week, and I'll let you know how the process is going. In the meantime, if you did back the campaign, make sure you answer the survey from Kickstarter so that I have your address and I have your t-shirt size and I know where to send the things, because that is important information that Kickstarter will not give me unless you answer the survey. So, thank you. Until then, thank you guys. I'll see you next time, and good night. Have a lovely rest of your evening, everybody.